Hey there, welcome to the DFS Build NBA edition. I'm Kevin Roberts, joined with Taylor Smith. We're getting ready to go over the 11-game main slate over at DraftKings. Lots of games. Nice NBA schedule, Adam Silver. We have the NBA Cup game the other day, no games yesterday, and then 11. But hey, you know what? It is fun because we can enter a lot of different lineups and hopefully win some cash. That is what it's all about here. Our goal is to point you to our favorite plays and just kind of break down the slate overall. And hopefully it helps you out. If it does, and even if it doesn't, it's free advice. Smash that like button and also subscribe to the channel so you do not miss future videos just like this. We're not just handing out picks. We certainly do profile the plays we like the most, but we're giving you a little bit extra by breaking things down and offering our insights into the slate. So we go position by position. And by the way, today we will be doing a DraftKings $1 contest. First 50 people in get to battle Taylor and I for ultimate bragging rights. Or just I'm going to win, so it doesn't really matter. Maybe don't enter. But it's only $1. It's just for fun. We can all come together and try to take each other on. All right, let's go. Position by position, starting at point guard. Cade Cunningham looks amazing, blasting away 9 points better than any other point guard on the slate in terms of raw point projection here. But he's also projected for monster ownership. It all makes sense because he's facing the Jazz. They are terrible defensively. That game has a really nice, 227, 228 total. That is nice. Don't mind that at all. And the Pistons are not so good that we have to worry about a blowout that much. Let's talk about Cade first. How are you feeling about Cade and eating that chalk?
Yeah, I mean, he looks amazing without Jaden Ivey. Going to get a usage boost. There are a lot of games that have really good totals and tight spreads. This is one of them. Detroit, a very obvious source of value with Ivey doubtful. Tobias is back, but I don't really think that affects it too much. Like, Cade is just an unbelievable play. He's still under 10K, not for long, but while we can get it, I'm happy to play it. Matchup's great. I see no issues with them. Ownership be damned. I don't really care.
Yeah, I mean, his price really has not budged that much. You would think that, considering who he's been absolutely crushing. Where's my thing? I didn't have my DraftKings window open. But I think he had like 66 fantasy points in his last game. I might be mistaken. Let me just dive in here real quick and see where he was at. He had 66, exactly. And then he had 71 2 games before that and 61 the game before that. So he's been on fire, and the Jazz are amazing matchup. He should not be only 9.8K. So he looks great. Alternatively, I don't have really any interest in Scotty Barnes if he's back at 9.3K. I think the injury thing is going to keep me away. Plus, there's a lot of options, so I'm not doing that. Not interested in SGA at all at 10.3K against the Magic on the road. In theory, unowned SGA is interesting for tournaments, especially as a pivot in a similar price range as Cade, but I'm just going to go Cade there all day. If you do want to get away from Cade and want somebody that is pretty appealing, there's a few guys that do stand out. James Harden at 9.7 looks pretty darn good. Dallas is not always the best matchup, but his projection's good. His price is good. No Luka, so maybe that helps him out a little bit. Kyrie Irving with no Luka looks really, really good at 8.2K. Just monitor his status because I think he's questionable too. And then Trae Young at 9.4K against the Spurs, especially if you like Wemby as a run back in that game. That's probably where I'm at if I'm not going Cade. I think the most obvious move is to go to Kyrie. Another guy I'm not super interested in, if the minutes are still limited, is going to be LaMelo. But in theory, unowned 9.9K LaMelo against the Wizards is interesting.
Yeah, I would like to get to LaMelo, but as of now, I'm not. I think his minutes are going to be a little bit too tight to get to him and his salary, but that's another game that has a pretty decent total and all that. But yeah, the Kyrie thing, very obvious play. If he's in, he's 8,200. He should probably be 9 to 10K. If Luke is out, and he's not, matchup's not great against the Clippers, but it should be a pretty competitive game, I would think. 40-ish minutes if he plays is good. If he's not, it's going to be just a mess of match you're getting to. I think regardless of Kyrie, you're definitely playing Dinwiddie. 3,700, going to have a role projected for over 30 minutes with Luka out. If Kyrie's also out, he could play 35 plus. So Dinwiddie smash no matter what happens with Kyrie. I do like the hard call. We are going to be playing plenty of Mavs, even if Kyrie's in, but not many Clippers on the other side popping. So if you want a ceiling out of the Mavs, the best way to get it is if the Clippers keep the game close. Don't mind Harden in that spot. And then otherwise, I'm mostly paying down. Like Van Vliet is okay, McCollum is okay, but not amazing. Derek White's fine. Otherwise, pretty much a value spot.
Yeah. Just kind of looking at the mid range. Not super excited to play anybody. I will note nice prices on Halliburton and Brunson. Still don't really feel obligated to pay for them. If Scotty Barnes is back, RJ Barrett might be a little bit too expensive at 9.2K. So don't think I really want to do that. Specifically at point guard, we can talk about it on a small four in a little bit, but at point guard, there's just better plays. Jalen Suggs against the Thunder, that's a big no for me. I don't mind Jordan Poole at 7.3K if the Hornets game could stay close. Certainly a good DFS environment in general because of Washington, and he does have a good usage rate, so I don't mind him. Don't think he's a must by any means. He is carrying a little bit of ownership, but I do like the price and the usage. Keontae George is an interesting run back or comeback from Cade. 6.1K is a good price for his minutes and who he can be. Love the Dinwiddie call. I don't really care if Kyrie is in or out. Dinwiddie's going to have a role, plus no Jaden Hardy, so he's already cemented in probably like 20 plus minutes. And if Kyrie's out, then he's just like the chalkiest chalk there is. I'll tell you one guy who I really like. Can you guess who it is? He's low mid range.
Ben Simmons.
It's Ben Simmons. And I never thought we would see this day again, but guess what? Dennis Schroeder is gone, and Ben Simmons started and played 31 minutes in the last game, and he's only 5.4K. Ben Simmons' problem has been forever that he just doesn't get the burn that he used to. Like, obviously, the confidence and like the scoring things, those are real. But if Ben Simmons is still a good permanent guy, if he's going to start and get 30 plus minutes, I really have a hard time getting away from Ben Simmons at that price. Then you talk about the matchup. The Raptors are a great matchup. So the only issue would be if he randomly didn't start, or if we heard he will not play like 30 minutes for some reason. But he played 31 in his last game, so I tend to think that he's a decent bet to do that again.
Yeah, I think he's okay if he's not going to be super owned. If he's somewhat popular, I don't really want to play him into ownership just because he's very low usage. I don't know how much ceiling is there. Like, he does things while he's out there, but scoring's not really one of them, so the floor is pretty low. If he's not popular, I'm fine with it. If he's popular, I'm probably out.
Yeah, right now carrying about 11% ownership. I think the minute projection and overall projection might keep that kind of curbed. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to get out of hand, especially if Kyrie ends up being out and everybody's going to play Dinwiddie then, and maybe a lot of people will agree and maybe not think he's so much a priority. I really like him, though, and I will probably play him with Dinwiddie regardless of the status of Kyrie. Now, one question is, if you're going to play Dinwiddie at 3.7K, assuming no other value opens up, are you still pretty comfortable with playing Kyrie as well and or other Mavs, or do you think it's kind of an either or?
Definitely an either or. Dinwiddie's just so cheap that, and they're both cheap. Like, they're both underpriced for what they should be playing in this game. So I'm fine with both of them. I'm not going to set a rule. I'll set a rule for the Mavs overall, maybe no more than 3 in a lineup. But Dinwiddie and Irving, I'm fine playing together.
Yeah, same. I mean, obviously, I think the ceiling and the floor both just rise considerably if Kyrie's out, but Dinwiddie looks really, really good right now. Nobody else really popping. Anybody else you see down low in the deep range like Dinwiddie, or in the lower mid range that you feel obligated to play?
I think Marcus Sasser can make a player pool at 3-2 without Ivy. Should see around 20 minutes off the bench. Pretty good per minute guy also. Would not play him if I'm playing like Cade or Beasley, especially Beasley. You'd probably eat into Beasley if he's playing well. So as a full punt, I think you can play him, but not any kind of priority at all.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, not a great minute projection by him, but Ivy is out, so I think he's in play. All right, over to shooting guard we go. Kyrie Irving is the best shooting guard on the board. No argument there from either of us. I guess the question would be, is there anybody else up top that you like to pay up for? Right now, that is a big resounding no from me. Devin Booker at 9.5K. I mean, the matchup with the Pacers is good. He won't be owned. I just don't feel it. Brandon Miller with LaMelo back feels a little bit expensive. The matchup is good. He won't be owned, but he's questionable, and LaMelo is there, so I don't want to do that either. I think if I did, it'd probably looking at Jaylen Brown or Anthony Edwards with a very hard lean on Jaylen Brown, just because the spot against the Bulls is pretty darn good. And anytime you can get Jaylen Brown at 8.5K or cheaper, it feels like a value. He's not projecting like a smash, but I think if I was going to do like a pivot off of Kyrie at shooting guard, Jaylen Brown might be it. I just don't see the need. I think Kyrie is there, and you have Norm Powell at 6.9K, who again looks amazing. So I don't really see much of a reason to get away from Kyrie and Norm up top.
Yep. I think Powell's pretty good. He's priced near the ceiling probably, but
yeah, I agree
the
with
minutes
that.
are there, the usage is there, the position's not great, like you said at the top. Mostly paying down here, but if you're paying up, it's Irving or Powell for me, probably.
Yeah, a good point on he's reaching his price ceiling for sure. Like once we get to 7K and up Norm Powell, that's when I start to get out. I think at 6.9, this is like the last slate until it ticks back down where he's pretty usable. Not a must, but for me on this slate, but he still looks pretty darn good. Especially since we're getting a lot of exposure to the Mavs. If we're going to go like Cade or somebody else and we're not going to get to Harden, I think Powell's a nice little comeback there for sure. Coming down here, Jalen Green. What? Hell yeah. Yeah, of course. So Jalen Green at 6.2 against the Pels. I don't mind it as a tournament play. The price is good. The matchup is good. Not a priority, but I don't mind him for those reasons. Malik Beasley is probably the best shooting guard value right now this side of Quentin Grimes. Really like Quentin Grimes. Was he 3.9K? I'm not seeing. Yeah, right here. So I like Grimes regardless because Jaden Hardy's out and Luka's out. But again, if Kyrie's out, Grimes is a smash with Dinwiddie. But I like him anyways. 3.9. Clay at 4.9. He also looks pretty good. But I don't want to blip over who I just mentioned. Yeah, Malik Beasley with no Ivy. He looks really good at 4.9K. If we get into a situation where Malik is crazy chalk and one of those Mavs guys are going overlooked, I might just kind of go inside with the Dallas guys a little bit more. But all those guys look really good. No issue with them at all. How are you feeling about those guys for value? And is there anybody else that stands out at shooting guard?
Yeah, as of now, I have a lot more Beasley. He's like icing Clay for me. I'm not getting to any Clay. I agree that if Beasley's going to be like 40% more owned than Clay,
pivot to Clay there then.
Ridiculous. The issue is I don't think I would do that if I'm already playing Kyrie and Grimes and Dinwiddie and Washington. Like I don't want 5 of them or anything like that. So depends on your lineup construction. If you need a value who's not going to be mega chalk, I think you probably Clay as a pivot from Beasley. I'm not psyched about Beasley into ownership since he's quite scoring dependent, but he's been shooting the lights out all season long. It's a good spot. The game environment's really good for him. Guard forward eligible. Like it's hard to get away from. I think he's a great play. Grimes as well. Same deal for 1K less is fine. There's a lot of value here though, and I think ownership's going to congregate around those two, which is going to make guys like Lou Dort, Ahmed Thompson, Devin Vassell, Bogdan Bogdanovic naturally fly under the radar. And I think those are all very good differentiator options that really, Ahmed Thompson might get some ownership depending on the Houston injury news. But regardless, I think he's a really strong play at 5'6".
Did you see Vassell's last game?
I did not.
4 fantasy points in 25 minutes, 4 real points and nothing else. It's so unlike him. Pretty crazy. Anyways, I still like Vassell at 5.2K for sure, and that is a good pivot because it doesn't look like he's gonna be owned at all. Good pivot away from those other chalkier guys. That said, I think it is gonna come down to Malik versus the Mavs value. Now that can be as simple as Malik versus Clay, or it can be Malik versus Quentin Grimes in a sense, or maybe not Dinwiddie too, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think playing all of them makes sense. It's pretty unlikely that they're all going to hit. So I think getting that combo correct is going to be a key to this slate for sure. There are other values, like you said. There's Boggy. There's Champagny. His prices come up, but that guy's been smashing. And there's the other Champagny too for the Spurs. So yeah, wrong position.
So Justin Champagny is the Wizards have like Brogdon back. They have other guys back now, so they're not quite as bereft. They might still start him and stuff, but I'm not super. He's 5'8", also like max.
That's
price.
True.
Justin Champagny, no, thank you.
That's true. Stephon Castle, 5K flat. He's appealing, but I think it's 11 games. There's going to be plays. There's definitely going to be guys that we can look to. A lot of options. Very easy.
Grady Dick, if Barnes is out, Grady Dick also is going to look pretty good. Yeah,
he is 6K though, so it's not like he's cheap anymore.
He was like 5'9" the other day. It still looked pretty good. So
that's true. Yeah, and it's the Nets too. So I do like that game quite a bit as well. But my point is, it's 11 games. If you want to get different just for the sake of getting different and get a guy with a similar projection or something, that's definitely very doable. That's not difficult. I just think that the best plays are already presenting themselves, and we already touched on them. So it's kind of where I'm at with them. I do like the graded call though. If you want to get away from that, 5K-ish chalk and just pay 1,000 more at that position, he is in a good spot and just in general a good play on this slate. All right, so at small forward, Jason Tatum leads the way with a 51-point fantasy projection. By the way, we are using Taylor's trademarked projections here for the slate once again. So you're getting free access to the legend himself. Not saying that in the condescending, in a non-serious fashion, but my point is, yeah, you're getting free access here, and hopefully, they can help you out. They damn sure helped us out the other day with Jimmy Butler going nuclear. So if you were along for the ride,
and no one
probably
played him.
And no, we did. We did. Okay, so Jason Tatum against the Bulls. Yep, looks good. No problem with them. I think you're just going to have to make a decision between him and Cade or whatever other stud you like on the slate. I don't have anything bad to say against him, especially with Porzingis questionable. If Porzingis is out, he's just going to get a little bit more usage, have a little bit better of a ceiling, and he's not even that crazy expensive at 10.1K. I just don't think he's the play I want on this slate. I'm looking at Cade, I'm looking at Harden, and I'm kind of even looking at a couple other guys we'll get to in a little bit. Tatum just isn't there for me, but he is a good play. Not interested in Scotty Barnes or RJ Barrett or Brandon Miller for reasons I already said. You can play them because they have good roles, they have good matchups, and they're not going to be owned. But that really would be the only reason for me to do so. So the first guy that pops off here for me is going to be Powell again at 6.9K. I do like Cam Johnson at 7.1 quite a bit now that Schroeder's losing, giving up some usage. Now he's gone. And the other day we were kind of talking about Cam Johnson. I was like, I like the price, I like the role, but I didn't like the matchup. Sure enough, he busted. But here he gets the Raptors, so I'm right back on the Cam Johnson wagon. So yeah, that's where I'm at as far as up top. Anybody like at 7K or more, it's basically sure you can pay for Tatum. I do like Powell, and then I like Cam Johnson.
Yeah, I think we can throw Bane in there. I think Jaw's questionable, so more usage will go around to Jaren and Bane if he's out. Smart is also doubtful, so maybe Bane's minutes come up a little bit. I think at 6'8", he's okay. Not a priority as of now, but depending on the news,
if Ja is
he's
out,
fine.
yeah. If Ja's out, I'm definitely with you on that.
I'm not psyched about it, but I think it's okay. And then Markkanen has also been pretty bad this season, but he's a small forward facing Detroit. This is the same matchup that Jimmy went nuclear in the other day. I think if you're going to buy low on Markkanen, this is probably the spot to do it. I don't think he's a priority the way Jimmy was. He just doesn't project quite as well, but good price, good game environment. Pistons on the other side look good. I do prefer John Collins among the Utah guys, but I think Markkanen's also fine.
Yeah, I keep willing Lowry back into relevance, and it's just not working. I think one time I was like, oh, I really like the Jazz and this other team like that. I wanted to attack that slate, and I thought Lowry was a nice pivot away from John Collins. It worked out once. One time I mentioned Lowry and it worked out. And I remember the last time we talked about them, Jazz and Blazers, and that game was a complete housing. That was disgusting. Yeah, so I just don't
not help.
No, I agree with you. Like, he's a good player and he's cheap and the matchup is good. So, and like, he won't be owned. So everything does make him look appealing, except for everything we've seen on the year with him. So I agree with the reasoning. I just don't think I'm going to go there personally. But I mean, I hope he can get it going. Like, he must just not be healthy, because I don't know how you go from putting up like 25 points a game to just absolutely being an ass. Doesn't really make that much sense. You mentioned Amen Thompson at 5.6K, really good price if injury news breaks his way. Tari Easton at 4.8. He's always too cheap for the usage he gets off the bench. Good per minute guy. I think he's an okay value, especially since there are a lot of values in that similar price range. You already mentioned Vassell and Dort. I think they're okay. Dylan Brooks plays a lot of minutes, 4.5K against the Pels. I don't hate that. That's an interesting pivot away from Clay and Malik. I prefer those guys still, but he actually projects better than Clay for what it's worth. And Boggy, I mentioned at 4.6. It's probably all I see. Azar Thompson, I don't know. Tobias is back, 4.4K. I think with Ivy out, you can play Azar Thompson because you'll play a little bit more on the wing in this case. So I'm not completely off of him, but with Tobias back, he's less appealing.
Yeah, I'm not really on him. I think his minutes might come back down. He got boosted a little bit by overtime the other night also. So if he's going to play around 20 again, I'm not really into that much for his brother. But we have DeAndre Hunter again, who always seems to pop for me. Not like a great play tonight, but I think he's okay. Mikal Bridges and Anunoby, if Josh Hart is out, would see usage boosts. Not a great game environment there against Minnesota, but the thing about the Knicks is they play their guys 40 fucking minutes every night. So Bridges and Anunoby are going to be viable even if Hart is in.
And yet they do nothing in those minutes.
Well, Bridges in particular does nothing, but not a bad price. Guard forward. I don't mind it as a dart throw. And I'm with you on Tari Eason. I think he's an amazing play, and I hope that he's not going to be his own as it looks like he will be, but sub 5K against the Pelicans, I'm very interested in that.
Well, hold on. I'm looking at the status of Şengün. He's questionable. So Tari's definitely going to be owned if Şengün is out. So keep an eye on that. I think Tari is a good play anyways, but Tari Eason is probably a priority at 4.8K if Şengün doesn't play. I'm with you on the Knicks, guys. The logic has never changed.
Tari is also questionable, it looks like. So
of course he is. Of course he is. So we can look even deeper into the Rockets' value, obviously, if both of those guys are out. So just keep an eye on that. But yeah, the Knicks guys, they remain too cheap. They're 6K. The Wolves matchup is not good, but they are going to play legitimately 40 minutes. Like if Mikal Bridges can do like what he was doing like 3 games ago, where he's getting you like 35, 38 fantasy points, that's good enough for me. I think that's okay. It's just obviously even in crazy minutes, the ceiling just isn't there. That's the thing that really bugs me about them. All right, so I think that does it. I didn't see any other value that really popped. All right, so moving on. Power forward we go. Tatum is there as well. KD at 9K against the Pacers. I don't mind that. I think that's a much better play than Tatum on this slate. Jalen Johnson, 8.4K. That's an even better play. So I think right away, you just working your way down. Like I want KD over Tatum. I'll take Jalen over both of them. I kind of want John Collins over all those guys. So you mentioned John Collins at 7.4. His price has come down. He gets the Pistons. That's a comeback from Cade and Malik Beasley. So at 7.4, John Collins, I agree, looks really, really good. I think right now he might be my favorite spend up. The only problem is PJ Washington at 6.4K with no Luka. He does exist, and he looks even better if Kyrie is out. PJ Washington at that price against the Clippers with the monster minutes he's playing. And by the way, when Luka was out before, he was crushing. So I want that. I want access to PJ. When he was doing that kind of stuff. The projection you have here is really nice, pushing 40-point fantasy projection. I think as it stands, I think PJ is the best power forwards play of the slate, not counting Tari if he's in and Şengün is out.
Yeah, among the guys you have to pay for, at least he's the priority for me, I think. I love the Collins call also. The matchup against Detroit, like they don't have the size to deal with that.
That was your own. That was your own call, sir.
Oh, I'm giving you credit.
Okay, all right, I'll take it.
I think Jaren Jackson is also in that range and also perfectly fine, regardless of jaw thing. But if Jaw's out, he becomes like.
Look at his projection, even with a projected 30 minutes.
Yeah, I mean he's like insane per minute.
Disgusting. 38 fantasy point projection in 30-minute projection. If he doesn't get into foul trouble, the dude's gonna smash.
He always gets in foul trouble, though, so
I know.
Fully expect that to happen.
Right.
Yeah, so Collins, Jackson, Washington. I love Miles Bridges on this slate. Like the matchup against the Wizards is the nut matchup. He's been a little bit limited, but averaging about 1.1 fantasy points per minute on the year. He's just a good player, even if he's not a good human being. But I don't care about that. 6,100.
I a little bit care about that, but yeah, I don't care about it for purposes of winning money.
He was like an 8K guy last year when he was at full strength. 61 is an underpay for him. Last game he played 28 minutes, so 30 tonight should be enough for him to get there, I think, against the Wizards. And then the full punt on the slate at 3-2 is Nance. Okongwu's out for Atlanta. Nance played 24 minutes in the last game. Okongwu missed in November. Not a guarantee to see 20-plus minutes, but I do feel pretty good about it. He's very good per minute. He's power forward eligible, which is massively important on this slate with all the center value we have. I just think he's an awesome play off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, the price alone will get you interested in that for sure. I don't want to blip over the Miles Bridges thing. If we can actually feel good about his minutes, he's a really, really good play. I don't really want to play him because he's burned me so many times and the minutes have not yet been there. I mean, like in the last 5 or 6 games he's played over 30 minutes once. Like there was
hurt. But
no, I know, no, but there was a game. There was a time when I definitely played him in a smash spot at a great price, and he just like didn't play the fourth quarter for no reason. He was not hurt. It was not foul trouble. The Hornets are really weird with their rotation sometimes. So I think this is where I'm at with Miles Bridges because PJ Washington exists, and it's kind of like you definitely can play them together, obviously, but it feels like it could be an either or situation. If Brandon Miller is out, I'm all in on Miles Bridges. If Brandon Miller's in, I think that's enough reason for me with Miller and LaMelo there to maybe not play Miles, at least not, in relation to where the field's at. I think that's where I'm at with that one. The other one is going to be Jabari Smith. I don't want to completely overlook him because if there's no Tari, Jabari looks a lot better. If there's no Tari and Şengün, Jabari all of a sudden looks like a really, really good play against the Pels at 5.4K. So I don't want to ignore him. He gets a bunch of minutes anyways. So even with those guys in, Jabari is viable at that price. But if one of those guys are out, if both of them are out, I mean, he looks awesome. Don't want to blip over Alexander Sarr. He's been getting okay minutes. Hornets are a good matchup. Just keep an eye on what they do with the lineup. They keep jerking us around with him and JV. So basically whoever starts is in play. Love the Larry Nance call. Not going to play monster minutes, but he's just really, really cheap. And basically he's just stepping into that Okongwu role. And if you like Okongwu at 4.6, why wouldn't you like Larry Nance at 3.2, right? So I'm with you there. And also Naz Reid just always in play, and he's under 5K now. Nice usage off the bench. They might need to size a little bit against Cat rotating in as well. I think that's kind of it. I guess keep an eye on the Memphis news because guys like Jake LaRavia and stuff could end up being relevant to a certain degree because he's like only 3.7K now. Anybody else who want to touch on at power forward?
No, sir.
All right. Let's kick it over to center where there's a lot of good plays for sure. Victor Wembanyama is my favorite stud of the slate. He has a very, very similar projection to Cade, and he's projecting for like basically no ownership compared to Cade. So while I love Cade, I really don't mind paying $900 more and getting Wemby against the Hawks. It is a smash spot. It is a really good DFS environment, and the projection is good. The ownership is not there. Everything makes me love Wemby here. I think it's a Wemby night. So I personally am going to be a little bit underweight on Cade and very overweight on Wemby. Also really like Cat. True revenge. Back to Minnesota he goes. I mean, how is he not scoring 50 real points in this game? Like he's almost definitely going to, right? So I know that is a noisy thing to say, but he's been smashing all year. Why would he not also smash against the team that, totally betrayed him? So he's very much on my radar. He's not even going to carry ownership, and I'm assuming it's because of the matchup and the price. And then, Şengün. If Şengün is in, awesome projection, awesome matchup, and he's way cheaper than both those centers. So center from a top level perspective is absolutely loaded, and none of those dudes are going to be owned. So that's where I want to live on this slate.
Right there with you. I think Towns.
Okay.
Like he's over 10K, but he should be. He's been unbelievable all season. Even without the revenge factor, obviously I'm not accounting for that in the numbers, but
account for it. Pump those numbers. You should have a true revenge tab in there where you can click the true revenge or account for it.
Yeah.
True.
I wonder if people are going to play that because they see the spot and they're going to be like, well, it's revenge spot. It's the last game of the night. No one's going to play him, but he might be over whatever the RG ownership is on him now. But regardless, it's not going to be high. So I think he's a great play. Wemby's an awesome play. Şengün is an awesome play, like you said. The cheap centers are all good too, though. Like Misi looks awesome at 5.5. Goga at 5.9. It's a big usage bump without Paolo and Franz. Jalen Duren might be somewhat chalky. Not really into that. Good price on him, but just really hasn't played well all season. Hasn't had a huge ceiling. I know Isaiah Stewart is out, but that's not really enough to get me on Jalen Duren, to be honest. So happy to pivot that elsewhere. I think Zach Edey is a fine value, even off the bench against Golden State. With Jay Huff out, Clint Capella without a Okongwu looks good. You can play Nance here, though I don't really think you should. And then, Kessler and Zubac always find kind of mid-range plays.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of the logic there. I really like the call on Duren being in a vacuum, a great play. Nice price, 32 minutes last game. If he can stay out of foul trouble against the Jazz, I mean, he absolutely can smash. But when does that actually work out? Almost never, okay? So everything does look good for Duren there, but if he's going to be chalky, I will gladly go away from that. Like, I'm really liking the idea of just stacking 2 of these 3 awesome centers and paying up, because that's just not something people are going to be doing. And you're getting raw points there, getting extremely different from the field. And then you're not taking these dives with these centers that do look good on a per dollar basis, but definitely could be traps. Like Edey, he's going to be limited as far as his minutes go, and he definitely has bottomed out numerous times. But now that is the way I'm going on the slate. But obviously these videos are not always about like you must follow the way one of us go. It's about mapping out why we are going to do what we're going to do, right? So having said that, love Misi as far as a just straight up play at 5.5K against the Rockets. Duren does look good at 5.5K or 5.5K as well. There's other guys, Walker Kessler, again, 6.5K. He looks okay. You said Goga. He looks okay. Zubac is kind of underpriced against Mavs here. JJJ, you mentioned, like there are a lot of plays. Edey as a really nice punt at 4.3. So if you don't want to, if you're already getting Cade and you're just not playing Wemby and Cat or Şengün, the values in the center are really good. Like they are very appealing if you don't want to do that. I'm just going to definitely go away from that and get my value elsewhere because it does exist on this slate, which is nice.
Right there with you.
All right, man. All right, let's wrap things up. We'll push a little bit over 30 minutes here, but hopefully when we do that, we're offering value and pointing you to plays that maybe you would not be on, and that helps you win some money, like Jimmy Butler the other day. All right, so let's end with our flag plant and general strategy for the night, even though I think we kind of are in alignment here and everybody knows what we're going to do.
Yeah, I think paying up for center makes a lot of sense. There will be a lot of double center lineups, but I think many of them will be like Misi Capella or Duren Capella or something like that. So if you want to pay up for both, like Wemby and Towns or Wemby and Şengün or some combination of them, like there's enough value elsewhere with Nance and Beasley and the Mavs to where you can pretty easily afford to pay up for 2 centers, not really lose a lot of projection and just get different with that. So flipping the build with 2 expensive centers, I think, is very appealing on this slate. Assuming it doesn't become the chalk build, which I don't think it will, it just makes a lot of sense to me to do that.
The only way it does is if Kyrie is out and like Cade is out. Cade is pulling like almost 40% ownership, which is insane. That alone is enough reason for me to go underweight. Not because I think Cade is a bad play at all. It's just because if everybody is going to be going one way, and it's an 11-game slate, and there's other, comparable plays up top, I just don't see the reason to eat the chalk. I just want to get different there. I don't mind eating good value chalk. Like I don't mind playing the Mavs punts or Larry Nance or Malik Beasley. I don't mind doing that. My core can be made up of all these values that everybody else wants to play. But when I spend money on this slate, it's going to be different. And I'm right. We have basically the same strategy. I think it's going to come down to, do we do one of those centers with Cade or one of those centers with Kyrie, or do we do both those centers and end up fading Cade and or Kyrie? I think it depends on what else the slate gives to us, because the second we publish this thing, what's going to happen? All the Celtics are going to rest or something stupid. It's 11 games, so it means 22 teams can completely wreck what we want to do. And that's okay. The other big thing is we have to just be ready and adapt on the fly. But hopefully this helps you, be alert to some good plays and just have a good general approach to add to what you're already doing for this slate. But if it does, give us a like here and also subscribe to the channel so you can get alerted to future videos just like this. Thanks for watching.
Enjoy the contest.
Oh, yeah, and good call, Taylor. Join the contest. They're going to put it right at the bottom of this video. You should be able to see it there. The link will be live. Only 50 entrants for now. Only $1 to enter. Not a big deal. But let's try to fill it up, and let's try to smash that like button. If we get up to 30 likes on this video, I will try to make sure we do a Sunday Night Football showdown slate for the week too. All right, thanks for watching, and good luck.